Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today, memories. We're doing a memories episode. Hey, do you remember your memories? It's been 2 years since Celebration, Chicago, that is, and all those things are popping up in the feeds and all the memories and everything like that. And so I threw a little call out to some of my good buddies to come on and talk a little bit about Celebration. And we'll probably talk about some other stuff as well. So we've got from Star Wars 101, Andy Campbell from that Geek Pod, Catherine Kneen. Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hey.
Hello there.
Oh, good.
It's good to see you guys. We haven't seen each other. Oh, actually, no, that's not true, Andy. I saw you last weekend.
Wrestle Rock. Good Friday. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, hang on, I just saw you. Yes. And Catherine, I saw you not that long ago. I guess a little while ago now when we sort of recorded in person back at my place. But it's freezing outside. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
Let's stay in our warm houses.
I got drenched today.
I
think
just
we all
bucketed
did.
down just when I had to go pick up the kids.
Yeah.
Just as I had to leave the house to pick up the kids from
so
school.
you're discovering that great joke that the world has that it starts to rain at 3:30.
Yeah, well, the irony was that Olive was actually in aftercare, so it was 5. So right when I knock off, and I'm like looking at the window, and it is bucketing down. I'm just going, oh man, not cool. I know I'm going way ahead on Celebration, but I got like the memory in my Facebook memories of like snow day, and there was a photo of me looking very cold.
I think as soon as we were walking out, we were all like, "Oh my god, it's cold."
It was a bit of spot the Australian that day, like all of us with like 50 million layers on, just it's so cold.
I don't think it was like, I think because we're from Melbourne, we're probably like, oh yeah, we deal with the cold. Like Melbourne's one of the colder places in the country. Like we should be fine. You know, how cold can it get? How cold can it get? Yeah, I feel like I'm getting ahead of ourselves, but we'll come back around.
We'll come back on that.
Now, I assume you guys got all the Celebration memories and stuff in your Facebook feeds and everything in the last couple of days. Does it feel more like important the further you get away from it, and the fact that we missed out on one? Like, I know obviously it was a big deal at the time. Does it sort of almost take this mythic status to you guys now the longer it goes on without getting to another one?
Yeah, being like the only one I've been to, it's like this huge event in my mind, and yes, the further away it gets, it's like I want to get back there, and it's that desperation of that feeling again. But it's that, are we going to have it again? Is it going to happen? Yeah.
What about you, Andy? Does it sort of feel
like seeing
bigger and bigger the more you look back on it?
It kind of feels like, Pandora from Avatar. Like you just want to go back and just like be in the forest and.
Well, that's the first thing you tell people at Star Wars. What was Star Wars Celebration like? Oh, it was just like Avatar.
Pandora,
Don't mention Avatar. We got movies delayed because of Avatar.
We didn't get Star Wars this year because of Avatar.
It's it was just so magical, and like all our friends were there, and we got to meet them in person the first time, and making new friends as well, and like everyone was just so happy to chat to you and find out where you're from, and then like and then you find out like that person knew another person, and you're like, oh my god, that was you, and Yeah, so I just remember like the last day, when it was all kind of winding up, and they had like the announcement of like, and going, hey, and guess what? We're coming back next year, and it's going to be in Anaheim, and it's all going to happen. I seem to remember just going, oh wow, like we haven't even left this one. I've already got to start thinking about the next one. It's kind of weird. Like, would it have been? I mean, obviously it meant a lot, but would it still mean the same thing? Like, it felt like, last year it kind of went from that, I'll see you in August, to I hope I see you in August, to I don't know if I'm going to see you in August, to I'm
That's
definitely not
right.
seeing
Yeah.
it.
It's just
So when you start thinking about what you experienced rather than looking forward to the next thing.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, but our time over 2020, I think it's put into focus for me, the most important things, and that I do want to reconnect with all my Star Wars friends, and that community that we've built is even more important to me now, because this is a community I think I was most in connection with during our lockdown times. Obviously, most of us are on social media, so easily connected that way. But to reconnect with them in person, I think takes on an even greater importance, because we were leaning on each other through 2020, and I can't wait.
It was sort of like still having the dream of just kind of going, well, when it became clear that it wasn't going to happen, it's just like, all right, well, now we've just got to shoot for 2022, and every time I hear 2022, like even when I hear 2021, when I hear movies are coming out in November 2021, I keep going, oh, that's a freaking mile away. I go, oh no, we're in 2021. It's actually like
That's
this
right.
year. So it's not going to be that far away where we're going to actually clock under a year. And then that sort of, because I heard you, like, little plug here, Catherine, you were on the Sith list the other day.
Yeah.
Go listen to that. Catherine was really good on that. And you actually sort of were talking to the guys about, making the most of opportunities and taking things for granted and stuff as well, which I thought, was quite interesting, of just that. Not so much you don't know what you've got till it's gone kind of thing, but I think
you never know if you will be able to do that thing again.
Well, yeah, and that was sort of my point that I was making about when they were going like, hey, it's back next year, and we're like, oh God, all right, I've got to get the headspace of, it was already such a mission to get there. Like, I've got to get my headspace of going through that mission again. And now you kind of go, how could I not? Like, I'm just more determined to do it than I was before, rather than being like, all right, well, I'll dust myself up and get psyched for it. Now it's just like, well, it's got to happen. Like, it's just, got to get there.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Let's go back to when this all sort of started. Do you remember where the first sort of conversations about actually going happened?
Oh.
In my head, I felt like it happened really fast. Like, it wasn't even something that... I didn't feel like something that we even really talked about amongst our sort of crew.
I think it was
Australian
in one of our
friends.
group chats. There was just like, so who would be interested in going?
Yeah, I kind of felt like it must have been the lead up to the tickets
It
going
was,
on sale.
yeah. Because we weren't sure.
And then...
But then, like, when the day and the time of when the tickets were going live, I think that's where we're all like, we're doing this? We're doing this. All right, we're doing this.
Yeah, that's kind of how I remember it. I don't know whether it was you, Catherine, or you, Andy, because there was sort of an overseas trip stuff that you guys were talking about anyway, and kind of going, well, Celebration's going to be on around that time. If we can coordinate it, we might be able to make it happen. I just kind of feel like it happened really fast. I don't even remember whether I'm just trying to remember whether we even knew that we were having Sloane, our second kid, because I was turning 40 at the end of the year as well. So the whole way that I sort of pitched it to Kat was like, well, this is my 40th. This is what I'm going to do for my 40th is I'm going to go to Celebration. I'll be 40 by then. I want to go, have I mentioned I'm 40?
Well,
and that was sort of the pivot point of how to sell that you were just going to leave the country for 2 weeks for a Star Wars convention.
Well, it was happening during our first school break, and I decided to leave, a few days before that break. So I had to put in long service leave. So I'm thinking we must have known that we were going by at least September the year before for me to put in that leave. But you're right. I think it kind of happened quickly, but I think Steele had come back with such fantastic, stuff about the celebration he'd last been to and all the celebrations. Mm-hmm. And I think we been in the community a bit then, and there were more and more people that we wanted to meet. So I think it was that kind of decision.
I think there was a bit of that kind of, no, come, you know,
Yeah.
because we are still, outside, not outsiders, but, we are sort of on the other side of the country, of the world, I suppose, and things. And like, obviously still being from Melbourne and having that connect and going over there and, getting some sort of, connection, whether it's through podcasting or social media and stuff with some of the guys over there, some more than others. I consciously tried to get people on the podcast leading up to it going, well, this will help the relationship as well by getting, like the motivators and guys like Hawes and Claire and Emily and going, well, we've got a relationship, but if I can get them on the podcast as well, that's just that little bit more, because you don't know, do you? Like we kind of just go, well, I hope people want to hang out and do stuff. But I guess at the same time, we knew that we kind of had each other as, worst case scenario, we'll be going and, Turbo was going as well, who's not on the call as well. And Steph, your fiance, Andy, who was coming along as well. And then, so we're like, well, at least worst case scenario, there'll be like 5 people that we know. Did you remember, because Steph's a teacher as well, so you guys must have had to plan sort of holiday stuff around that as well.
Planned,
even start having those conversations and things
early.
Yeah,
because I think one of the weeks, it would have been after when school had been back, so she would have missed a week of work. So that just had to be negotiated, but like it was all cleared and all that. But yeah, that was probably the only thing we did as well, just to confirm it all and stuff.
I seem to remember getting the tickets wasn't really a problem either.
No.
Like I don't feel like we got them. I think we got them on the day, but it wasn't like Anaheim getting up at 2 in the morning kind of thing.
No.
It was just like, oh, we'll just grab them and...
No. So it was like a Wednesday morning or something like that. And I think, I made myself get up a bit earlier, but I'm talking like, make sure I'm up at 6 a.m. or something to jump on the computer and get the tickets. But that was, a number of hours after the tickets had opened. Whereas, for this one, Anaheim, they were going on sale 2 a.m. and we had a conversation in the chat going, "Are you going to get up at 2? You're going to get up at 2?" And at the start, no one was going to, but I think Turbo we said, "Well, I'll already be awake, so I'll just stay awake because Turbo's the party man." And
I wasn't going to.
Yeah.
I'll just get them when I get up because I think.
Because we were fine.
Well, because we were still like Sloan still wasn't sleeping through the night, so we were still already getting up at night. So I was like, well, do I really want to have a reason to get up that I don't normally have to? I'm already getting up for something. Do I really want to make another time where I can get up? And obviously, I'm glad I did because they got snapped up really quickly. But so we did that. So I seem to remember we got the tickets organised. It all sort of started to escalate quite quickly, and then we obviously had to look at stuff like flights, and you guys took longer trips.
Yeah.
And, I was kind of in and out, but I did have that little week at the end.
Yeah. And, of course, I did my Catherine freaking out. Like the day we got the tickets, I was like, where are we going to stay? What are we going to do? Oh, my God. And so Josh was the calming, nah, it's be all right. How about we have a, conference here tonight? So we all went to your house, Josh, and booked an Airbnb.
That's right, yeah.
Yep.
Which we then changed, or it had to change.
It got
months
changed
later.
Yeah. Well, that got changed. That was probably the only real bump leading up that. We kind of. Well, it was funny because looking at the map at Chicago, and then once we'd gone there, it was quite interesting because obviously we tried to get as sort of close to either where the convention was or that was near a train line, and we ended up being in a completely different part of the city to where we ended up, obviously, but kind of going, oh, okay, well, I've got a general idea of where we were on that first place, and it actually worked out better where we were socially. We weren't as close to the convention was, but so we got this, the email from Airbnb going, oh, they've cancelled your thing, and basically, you're not supposed to do that once it's been booked, and especially not supposed to relist it again. But they obviously thought they could get more money. But I caught wind of that and reported them, and they said, "Oh, okay. Well, we can't make them relist it, but we can give you a credit or whatever like that." So we actually got a credit that went towards the next place, and by then most people had kind of booked their stuff. So I'd messaged, there was the party house, there was
Echo Base,
Echo Base up the.
Did we end up coming up with a name for ours? I can't remember.
No, I think it was just the place to go to sleep.
I think I remember talking to Luke or Dallas, and they just said the Aussie. I know they just said the Aussie Island or the Outback, or I don't know, something. That's what the Aussies are.
So they had a name for it. Yeah. And then I basically just messaged Eric and said, "Hey, we've got to find another place. Where are you guys staying? I'll try and get somewhere that's close to where you guys are." And we ended up being about a 10-minute walk from their house, which, I think made a huge difference. Yeah. I think because we were just in that vicinity, we could just sort of pop over. We sort of spent evenings, around there, and it would have been a lot more difficult. We would have been a little bit more isolated if we'd just sort of been over in our own little Aussie island, a real Aussie island over somewhere else. But, there were people around different places. Like a lot of people were at the Haunted Hotel, and we ended up there a couple of times, and, people were staying in hotels around the convention center. So it might have just been a slightly different vibe. But
that was one thing that Chicago sort of had, as opposed to perhaps Anaheim in the future, was that people were far more sort of spread out. And so you kind of hope with, crossing my fingers that with Anaheim will be far more tightly compact, so that, because, I'm traveling a few 100,000, exaggerating a little bit, tens of 1,000 kilometres to get there to see friends. Really, that's why I'm doing it.
Well, I mean, Anaheim is built around Disney.
Yeah.
So, Chicago is a city that is built to being Chicago, that does a million different things. Anaheim is built for Disney, and the event center is next door to Disney. So everything, accommodation wise and everything is all concentrated on that side of the town. So, we did have a place booked for Anaheim. We had to cancel that, but actually, you know what? I didn't cancel it. I waited until it fell under the COVID protocols, and we all got our money back. So that was good. Some people jumped the gun. I know poor Jess Schrader. She messaged me at when it all got cancelled. She messaged me on her time, normal time, going, "Oh, what are you doing about Airbnb?" Da, 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 da. And by the time I got the message and I got it in the morning, I said, "Don't cancel it. Just hold on." She's like, "Oh, it's too late. I've already cancelled it." I'm like, "Oh no, don't do it.
Yeah.
Eventually, you'll get your money back." So we did. We got the place in Chicago, which was perfectly fine. It was clean and had 2 bathrooms. We had the boys' bunk room down the bottom where me and Turbo were, and you guys got your own rooms. Well, obviously you were sharing, Andy, but worked out all right for us. But there was some talk that I remember Eric a couple of times saying that he might knock on the door and sleep in one of the bunks, because I think sleep was at a premium down at the other house. It was all go down there.
Wait a second. It's 2:11 in the morning.
Yeah, God, that classic story that they that night.
Yeah, so that was the thing. Like even at Anaheim, I was quite conscious of we might have a couple more people, but it's not like I'm getting a house for 20 people. You know what I mean? Like it's got to still function as a place to rest, and I think that really helped, because I remember leading up. Because we didn't, even when we were going, we didn't really know how the panels were going to work.
Right.
They hadn't actually officially said, the lottery stuff happened quite late. And so, we had a lot of discussions of going, are you going to camp out? Are you going to stay out overnight to get into these panels? Are you going to do it? And, 1 minute I go, no, there's no way. And then another minute going, oh, maybe, I suppose, if some people are doing it. Like, do you think you could have done it, looking back? Even knowing what the panel was now, do you feel like I would have done it?
I would have, definitely. Because, you meet, surely we would have bumped into people we knew and, get out the mics and just start recording and have a laugh and all that. So, yeah, I think it would be worth it.
How about you, Kat? You reckon you would have done it?
Outside? In the snow?
Well, I don't know. That was the whole thing. I don't know how it would have worked there.
Yeah.
I know that some of the other ones, they just stuck them in like some sort of hall, big empty space that was next door. I guess you could make people sleep in the basketball stadium next door. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure how it would have worked, but I think I think the lottery system worked really well for us who got pretty much everything in the lottery system. But we'll get back to the lottery system as well. But I remember like boarding the flight to Melbourne from Melbourne, still not knowing about panels and stuff, basically. And I didn't know until I got off the plane that we'd gotten them. I know you guys
we were already
in the States by then. So were you kind of refreshing your phone, waiting for stuff, or just it kind of popped up?
I think I think it kind of popped up because on the Monday, I think we all went over to Andy's place, and that's when we sort of sat there together and did the panel, like lottery stuff, and like Catherine checks, which are, Catherine panicking over everything. And I think, Josh, you and I had organised SIM cards. So grabbing those because I was flying out like the Friday or Saturday, and I think, Andy, you were somewhat
because we're going to New York.
We should have got you a SIM card, Andy. We should have got you a SIM card, Andy.
I don't know. I put like $90 on this thing. I think it was like, I was with Optus at the time, so I think I did like $90 worth of like business. I think I did like, I don't know, 100 gig or something, or maybe not even that. Maybe like, I don't know, 15 or 20 gig or something. I'm like, well, that should last me a few, Anyway, woke up and it was all gone because somehow I must have, I had Google Maps open or something and just used the data.
Oh, dear.
But yeah, lesson learned.
So we did the lesson learned next time. Yes, that's right. We had the little catch up just before we left, just to sort of check sure we had everything sorted and we had the maps and everyone knew where we were going and all that kind of stuff. But then we didn't have the panel. We didn't know anything about the panel stuff then. I think we'd applied.
Yeah, we applied that night. That was when the lottery was coming in and you had to put in all your details with your like ticket number or whatever. And I think that information came through a bit later because I think, I was in Houston at my friend's house then, and I think things sort of came through then.
Yeah. I just remember when the news broke and I think I said in the group, in our little chat, I'm like, oh, everyone's going to hate us.
I think it must have been when I got off at LA because I still had to fly to Chicago, obviously. But so it was sort of off the plane and then going like, oh, you got like this one. I'm like, oh, I got that. Like, I mean, obviously episode 9 was the big, like, I'm like, oh my God, we got episode 9. Like, that is unbelievable. So that was pretty exciting. But, ultimately, looking back, you kind of go, well, the panels were amazing, but looking towards Anaheim, it was always just like, well, that'll be good, but it'll just be better to see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like as much as a big deal to go. I mean, maybe it's easy to say that when you get them. Maybe it's a little bit different. But so when we arrived in Chicago, I met you at the airport, Catherine, as I recall. We arrived about within an hour of each other, I think.
Yeah, an hour or so. So that was, good timing. I could just get off the plane. I sort of went down to where your you were going to get off, and so I sat in a Starbucks there and I saw Peter Mayhew.
That's right, yeah.
He was in his wheelchair, his transport. So I was like sitting there freaking out, like with my Star Wars stickers on my suitcase, but trying not to be obvious and trying not to stare. And he wheeled around and his helpers went and ordered some coffees, and he was sort of sitting off to the side, but in
a tall latte.
I didn't quite notice, but in a private area. But I was just squee, Chewbacca.
Is that what it kind of felt real? You're just like, wow, I'm really in Star Wars Celebration. Like I just remember seeing the Star Wars T-shirts. I didn't really notice them at LA, maybe there was one or two, but then I remember sort of getting off at Chicago and going like, a lot of Star Wars t-shirts around here.
Yeah.
And then I remember, I think I chatted to a couple of guys who had, and they had some shirts and stuff, and I sort of just chit-chatted to them for a minute, and I think they were just asking about like what panels and stuff you got into and so on and so forth. But that's kind of when I went, oh wow, like it's noticeable there's people here, because it's sort of, you kind of go, well, I know it's going to be reasonably big, but I've been to, but I mean, there's conventions and stuff all the time, and other places like Melbourne has events, and I thought, maybe it'll be kind of like when the Grand Prix is on, and you kind of see a couple of people buzzing around, and who are into car racing or whatever, but it sort of felt like every second person at the airport was there for Star Wars Celebration. And then we kind of got to the house. So I think we got there. We got the taxi. We got there first. I think you and me were there first, and then Andy and Steph arrived not much later, and then Turbo turned up not long after.
He turned up a bit later.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to remember
that night. I think.
Now,
so,
had you all met Turbo in person?
Yes.
You had?
I met Turbo at
Last
the
Jedi
Last
screening,
Jedi screening.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he came down. I forgot about that.
I think there's a photo out there.
I'm sure there's photos.
It's it's a long night. Yeah, no. So I had met Turbo in person before. Well, the funny was, because we haven't met. He was always going to be on this call tonight. Is Matt from Blue Bantha Milk? Who we've become good mates with. I'd never met him in person. He'd been on the podcast and stuff, and I'm probably jumping slightly ahead, but I met him for the first time at the hotel. He sort of just jumped up, and I was like, "Oh, dude," again, that was that. Having chatted on a podcast stuff, it was sort of a good icebreaker and things as well. But we get slightly ahead. So we got to the house, and one of the things I remember distinctly, I might have even been
The lack of kettle. The lack of a coaster.
Kettle. Yeah, no kettle. I had to bring I had to bring my own tea. I prepared for that. I'm going to bring some tea, because there's not going to be any bloody decent tea, and there wasn't a kettle. So I had to do it in a pot like an animal. But anyway, at least I had teacups or something resembling a teacup. I'm just trying to remember whether, and I seem to think this might have even been before I left the country. I'd have to check with the Canto Bike Girls. Was that video of Emily and Brittany?
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that actually happened before I'd left Melbourne, maybe even the morning of. And because I seem to remember having the video and showing Kat here, just going like, oh my God, like my friends have been doing this podcast together for a year and they've never met in person, and they're meeting. And I'm kind of going like, is this like, how amazing is this? Like, is it going to get better than this? Like, this is just great. Like, I'm just watching a video of it.
Yeah, I was so pumped with that. That was amazing.
So then you guys turned up, and then we had a little bit of a wander around the area and stuff, and then
we went up to Echo Base.
So we went to Echo Base. We basically kind of sort of messaged Eric and said, hey, what are you guys doing? Are you around? And he said, yeah, just sort of come on up. And I think we got some dinner on the way and rocked up. And I remember we were kind of knocking on the door, and like nobody was coming to answer the door. And we were sort of just standing there going, all right, like, is this even the right house? Like, what's going on here? And then kind of going, all right, well, somebody send Eric a DM and say we're at the door, and and eventually we kind of got in. Everyone was just kind of just sitting around, and I think they might have even been watching Star Wars.
They had The Last Jedi on, yeah.
Yeah, I think The Last Jedi was on, and I guess it makes total, because I kind of in my head I was like, oh, it's all going to be like raucous, and they're all just like partying, going like, oh yeah, it's sort of like 6 p.m. They've probably been out doing stuff all day, and I think some people have gone to the baseball.
Right,
and but of course we sort of turn up. We're just like, hi, people, and the TV got turned off, and you just start chit chatting and so on and so forth, and then that kind of quickly sort of escalated to everyone's going to jump in taxis, and we're going to go to the
haunted
hotel. And I remember I think I'd been up for 36 hours or something by that point, because I'd flown out that morning, and then I'd been up all day for the flight, and then the day of the flight to get there, and then I was staying up till the night to go back. So I think, it was something like 30. I'd been awake for ages, and I had this fleeting thing of going, oh, maybe I should just go to bed and get some sleep. And I hadn't collected my ticket yet. Like I hadn't got my pass. I'm kind of going, oh, I've got to go figure out how to pick up my pass. Maybe I've got to get there early. And now knowing going like doesn't really make any difference. But I'm so glad that I was like, no, come on. It's first night of celebration. You've got to go. Like there'll be people there, and then it just sort of we showed up at the haunted hotel there, and I remember kind of rocking up and. Steele was there and Hawes was there. I think Steele and Hawes were the first.
Yeah, we ran straight up to them.
That was kind of weird. That was just kind of weird. Like, obviously, mid-interview. I think, it was that kind of, because Steele just looked at his face like, oh my God, you guys are really here, but oh my God, you're interrupting the podcast as well. So, but graciously, and then it was just sort of, oh my God, like, these guys have turned up, and then these guys have turned up, and then these guys have turned up, and it was like the who's who of sort of Star Wars online, or at least our little crew.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of quickly, I think I pulled some mics out and I was chatting to
Noah was there, Claire was there,
and
Corey.
I'd have to go back and listen to the recording. Those guys are on there, and I have to even check who else was on there. But yeah, it was just this thing, and then all of a sudden it was like people were buying drinks, and it just kind of went on and on until I don't even remember when it finished.
Oh.
Yeah. I was quite amazed you and Turbo were standing, to be frank.
Well, yeah. Well, you just got to push through. That was in my head. I'm just like, well, I'll just I'll push through, and then I'll definitely sleep, and get up, because we had the next day was the sort of the, what do they call it? It wasn't
the preview
day?
merch day.
Preview day, yeah. So. And we would obviously were going like, well, we've got to get there. And I didn't have my pass. I'm like, well, I'm going to try and get down there early and get my pass. And,
I didn't have my pass either. So none of us.
And I remember there was sort of talk of like, oh, people are already queuing up to get in. And there's a whole, like, people have been waiting for ages and da-da-da. And I mean, as it turned out, there was no point queuing up that early. You weren't missing out on anything. Like we went up to the thing to pick up the passes and just walk straight in and got the pass in about 2 minutes, and it was kind of there, and then rolled on into the floor and kind of it was quite overwhelming on that sort of first hour, because there was no panels, so everybody was just like on that floor. Yeah. I mean, it was cool being like, wow, there's so much shit to buy. But I just remember kind of going, oh, okay, well, I feel like we stuck very close as a group, at least that first couple of hours as well, of just kind of going, well, we'll just walk around, we'll make sure we find our bearings and keep close. I know, Catherine, you sort of were a bit like, whoa, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot that first day, and a lot of people. So at a certain point, I did go off into a corner, as it were, put headphones on, had my head down, not looking at everything, just because, it was a lot.
Absolutely. And I remember, like, I'm jumping ahead, but I remember kind of going, I think maybe even the next day or something, kind of going, oh, I hope Catherine's all right. There's a lot going on, da-da-da-da-da. And then you were I hadn't seen you, and then I kind of walked past and saw you just like, hey, what's going on? I'm going over here. I'll catch you later. I'm just like, well, I think she's fine. She's hit her strides.
Well, you'd given us our beanies by that stage, and you'd given out, a number of beanies to like the Echo Base crew type of thing. And, obviously those beanies have been fantastic during the cold weather, but during the convention, during celebration, it was just fantastic, because you just looked for a red beanie and you knew there was a friend.
Yeah.
If anything was wrong, you just kind of looked around and went, oh, there's a group of red beanies, and you sort of walk towards them and you go, oh yeah, they're so-and-so, and then can sort of walk towards them. And of course, you and I were spotted on like live streams in those beanies.
But there were other ones as well. Like, there are other people. Like, that was the thing. Like, they were done as originally. I should sort of touch on this, I guess. But every time I go on other podcasts, I'm like, the beanies were the greatest thing ever.
But they were.
They were done. I mean, they were done just as as a sort of first they would sort of done as a thank you to people who'd been on the podcast. I'm like, well, how many, am I ever going to get to see Hawes in person or Eric Struthers in person again? Or here's a thing to just be like, here's a token of the thing, and I'll pay for them and I'll get them made. And then it kind of, when you get something custom made, basically the more that you get, the cheaper they are, even though they're more expensive. You know what I mean? Like if you get 20, they cost X amount each. And if you get 50, they cost this much. And I'm going, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to fit more than 50 in my bag anyway. I'll cap it at that, and I'll just give them out to, I'm kind of going, well, realistically, if I see these guys and I see these guys and I see these guys, they'll all get one, I suppose. And if I've got any left, I'll just give them out to randos or whatever. And I think for the most part, most people got one. I always feel bad that there's a few people who missed out, sort of like your Jess Raiders and stuff like that who missed out. But because it was so cold, everybody wore them the whole time. So that was the thing. That was the thing also that worked great, was that, like you said, there was a good way to sort of spot people and and then people sort of randomly started asking about where they got them. They went to the shop. A few people were like, I went to the shop and I couldn't find them. There was a dude who offered to buy mine off me. And I was like, oh, no,
I had guys come up to me, Josh, and ask if I was you. Oh, you Josh Chapman. I see you got a spelled out bean. I'm like, no, that's not me.
Yeah. So, I mean, the irony being that, of course, next, I was for last year, when it was sort of January, I was going, all right, well, I guess we'll do this all again. Even though it's going to be 30 degrees, it's going to be hot. No one's going to wear them, but they won't have the same. Won't be the same thing again. But I think as the from a memento point of view, they're good to have because they're dated, and also it's a chance to give them to the people who didn't get one last time. So I was basically going to just go like, all right, I will ask everybody who I know who think will want one. They'll probably have to pay for it, but I'll do it at cost. So there won't be much, like $15 or something. And if you want one, then I can just basically go, well, I'll make this many and I'll bring them over and da 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 da. So I probably will still do that. But it's not going to be the same because it's going to be hot. People will go great, and they'll pop it in a bag and they'll save it for wintertime. So yeah, the preview day was funny. Like it just became shopping day for me. I don't know about you. I kind of got to the end of the day and it's where the Black Series stuff kind of took off. And I'm just like going, and the more beanies I gave out, the more room I had in my bag. And I just sort of, I just started accumulating stuff. So a lot of those, I think all of them that I bought at Celebration are all still in their boxes and stuff still. I'm sort of looking over kind of going, and every time I talk about getting out of Black Series, it's like, I can get out of it. I don't need it anymore. I kind of go, oh, I got that one, even though it's just a standard one that's not special. You can get it for $10 somewhere. I'm like, yeah, but I got that on the floor at Celebration,
memories.
I was kind of gone, the exclusives were the ones, that's it. But I'm like, that one was quite special. I got that to the, oh man, we're just absolutely burning through time here. We better talk about the actual panels as well. So episode 9 panel, what's the overwhelming memory for episode 9 panel, guys?
I just remember when we went up the escalators and I walked past like the first pillar, and then you could see the curtain. And I remember we just went and opened the curtain just to see what the place looked like. And it was just like, oh my God, this is incredible. Yeah.
Well, I do remember you having a bit of a moment, Catherine, I think, going up.
I had moments.
It was a 5 days of moments, but I do recall that bit of being like, oh, this is like, we're in, we got in, we're there.
And losing my mind and then losing feeling in my legs, thinking I was going to faint out of the pure emotion of it, like when Palpatine laughed. And then when he walked out and said, roll it again.
Does the movie, I think we're all roughly on the same page about the movie. It sort of, won't go to the details. It's probably I think we'll agree the least favorite of the three. Does that color the panel at all, or is it just completely two separate?
For me, the panel tops the movie.
That excitement level, and then sort of thinking, God, it could be anything. And of course, our brains all speculated, but it was so exciting. And I talk about that experience with people and with students about just that electricity in the air of so many, of tens of thousands of people just so excited and screaming our heads off. It was just an amazing experience. And yeah, you really wouldn't want to trade that for anything.
I remember sort of going, I remember kind of like being in there and like Stephen Colbert came out and they kind of brought the cast out and things and being really excited, but kind of going, oh, you know, like it feels like exciting, but it doesn't feel like, I was kind of like, oh, is this as good as it's going to get? But like when that trailer dropped, like, you know what I mean? Like then it was just like, oh my God, like they always say the electricity, you could feel the, like you could feel it. Like you could just like, you're really in a, you know, and I've gone back and I've, you know, listened to that audio of us in there and I've watched YouTube videos of people who snuck cameras in and stuff like that. And even on the floor, you know, like of people, you know, everybody else who didn't get in, who were on the floor watching the trailer reveal and stuff like that, just going like, oh wow, like that was that was something. I'm just trying to remember what else I did that day. Can you remember anything else that you did that day on trailer day, on episode 9 panel day? How'd you go for other panels? Did you get into many other things?
I can't remember the rest.
Do you remember?
Because it can't, because it's been so long. Everything just blurs into one day. Like I feel like everything was just one day and you saw everything on that one day. Maybe except for the Sunday because of the snow. But even like for the Monday for the Phantom Menace panel and stuff, I felt like, oh, but I think I also did this. But then I'm like, wait, no, I did that on the Thursday. Like it all just blends in.
It's funny because like the big panels are all in the morning too. So, you know, they were done by sort of 11.
Yeah, I think I was just running around bumping into people going, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think this mean? Oh, do you think that's Kylo flying the ship? Oh, what do you think about that? Like, I think I was just doing that, just bumping into people and saying, what did you think?
I went to a toy panel, a Kenner toy panel one, and I tried, there was one or two other ones I tried to get into, and I just like, I thought like, oh, I'll wander over. And I was like, oh, no, there's no one getting into that one. But like I got into like some of the David Collins music ones.
Yeah, same.
You know, they were really good. We got into the Rebels panel. Yeah. What else? The video game one. There was a video game one as well. So there was. So I kind of go back and go, oh yeah, we were in a few other things, but it's obviously those panel. Like I didn't remember what we did on that first. Was that the Friday?
That was the Friday.
We did the pizza.
Was that the night we went out for barbecue?
I thought it was the pizza place.
No,
because we saw Steel on TV.
Oh, it must have been. So the Thursday night must have been when we went for barbecue.
It was, I think.
And then we went back to Echo Base with those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. So then we went out. That was really lovely,
brilliant.
wasn't it? That was the whole crew of us went out to dinner. We had deep dish pizza.
Yeah.
Tomato pie, or whatever you want to call it. And that's right. Yeah, of course. We were all sitting there, and then like at the corner of our eyes, Steele standing behind Daisy Ridley, the pizza place. Oh, dear. That was quite funny. So was Mandalorian Sunday?
The snow day.
Because Saturday...
Mandalorian was snow day.
Yeah, Saturday was the Disney Parks day, the one we didn't get.
Yeah, we slept in.
That's right.
Great.
That
was good because we had the Steel Wars thing that night, didn't we?
Yeah. And that was the day when, you know, so we were just going to go straight to Steel Wars, and you and I, Josh, were sort of out the front of the main hall, just standing there waiting around, and I looked down and looked and went, hang on, are you Jess? And she looked up and went, yes. Are you Catherine? Yes. And that was Jess Trader. And that's how we met, just randomly. And so, she was coming to Steel. So I said, come along, walk with us.
Because her friend that she was with was unwell and she had to go back. And she's just like, oh, well, I want to go over. But I didn't know Jess at all then. Like we didn't follow each other on social media or anything. Her, like so Catherine. I met her there for the first time. Yeah, so I didn't know her. And so that was cool. She came along with us and we sort of hung out before the Steel Wars show. And then... And that was great. That was sort of like the Haunted Hotel times 10 as well, because it was just sort of all those crew, and that was that was weird because that was that, we'd been to so many of those live shows in Melbourne where it was like, oh, it's this, but it's different because there's all those Americans here,
right.
but they're saying like, here we are at the front row like we normally are, and here we are like just like watching the thing as we normally do, but they're like, there's Johnny Grasso like with his pants half down, and it's like, and then it just sort of turned into drinking for the rest of the night. I don't really recall. I just sort of remember buzzing around, talking to different people, and sort of chatting to Molly and Alex and Dallas and Paul Ponte and just all these sort of different people, and it just went by so quickly. Like I remember going like when we were leaving, going like, oh God, is this got to end? Like, has this just started? And I think it was like 3 a.m. or something. It's like, no, it's like the latest that they've got to keep it open. Like and we'd had Mandalorian the next morning as well.
Right.
So,
and that was snow day, yeah.
And that was snow day.
Yeah.
And I remember I had to venture out to get. The house didn't have something. It was either milk or there was some sort of key condiment that we didn't have. And I'm going, all right, I'll go walk down to the service station or wherever it was to get whatever it is that we needed. And it was just awful. Like, I remember it was like I only had to walk about 250 meters, and I'm just going like, oh my God, this is just like the worst. But I think we taxi that morning as well. I think we didn't take the train.
The big car.
Yeah, we went nope to public transport today.
Yeah.
That was an amazing panel in that we had no idea what to expect. And even when Mandalorian came out, we weren't expecting what we got.
No.
So obviously I can't really remember the scene we saw in Mandalorian. It's all blurred into what's on Disney Plus, but
it was in a different order. I seem to remember.
Yeah.
I seem to recall it was in the first episode. He's walking down the street because they had the salacious crumb.
That's right. Yeah, and everyone's just like, "Oh, Claire's
poor Claire."
Like that.
I know. Poor Claire just copped that. And then there was a lot of the Werner Herzog thing was in there as well.
Yeah.
And there was a bit where there were stormtroopers in there as well, and he was some sort of face off with the stormtroopers. But I don't remember. I'd love to see that footage. I have to see if I can find, even if it's just the shaky cam, in the hall to see how different it was to the show. Because I seem to remember some people going like, "Oh, the special effects were a bit ropey," and da-da-da. I don't seem to recall that being the case. But
I mean, I don't really remember that much in the way of special effects. I think the standoff we saw with the stormtroopers is the one where the stormtroopers is like, the 6 of us, one of you, and Mando's like, I like those odds. But obviously we now know that office that they were in was not there. That was volume, and we had no idea at the time.
No idea, and not even a mention of Grogu.
That's right.
There was nothing. Not even a sniff. The temptation must have been so great, but they absolutely stuck to it. I'm just trying to think what else had happened on the Sunday. That I'm just trying to think of any other
panel.
sort of. I think
I went to
Resistance
the
panel
Star Wars
Sunday?
Minute podcast.
I think I got the exclusives. I think I got.
You were lining up for the Obi-Wan
exclusives on the Sunday
and Darth Maul. Yeah,
yeah, because I think I got just the timing where they opened the lineup, and I happened to be walking past, and I think I spent about an hour in that line on the Sunday. I got that, but I seem to remember the Sunday night being a lot more chill. I think it's by Sunday it was starting to take its toll on everybody. I think we went around to Echo Base
and Game of Thrones.
Much. Oh, that was Game of Thrones night because that was the first episode of the final season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
and everybody kind of went, is that it?
Right.
How little we knew. But it did feel like the energy was sort of not being sapped out, but people were tired. I think particularly in that house, I think it started to add up. Everybody, it was, the less sleep had started to creep up on, and I think people had even started going home. I think.
Yeah, Dallas and Luke were like packing up because they had to drive,
or had to leave early on the Monday.
Yeah, or they were leaving the Monday.
so we'll get on to the Monday. It was obviously the Phantom Menace panel.
Yeah.
And, of course, leading up was like, Ewan McGregor's
Yeah,
gonna
that
turn
was
up,
the big
everybody.
rumor.
Yeah, everybody, get ready. Somebody spotted Ewan McGregor
Yeah,
at the
I remember
airport.
we
Somebody
heard
spotted
that.
Ewan McGregor
Yeah.
at the hotel. Yeah.
Was this the day also of the Alan Tudyk panel? Or was that the day before?
That's
The
a
one
good question.
where there was
that after the Clone
spare
Wars panel?
seat.
Oh, yeah, right. That Diego
Yeah.
Luna was teased but did not appear.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, like before or after the Clone Wars panel.
That was way before there was any inkling of a Cassian show, wasn't it?
No, that was Cassian
that-
had
Yeah,
been
Cassian
announced.
did. Yeah.
Cassian had been announced.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just trying to remember whether there was I think it must have been very close to that, though. That like it wasn't sort of. Yeah. You know, it wasn't like I thought that he would turn up. Like there wasn't like well, I guess like what are you going to say like that close from an announcement? Just like it's going to happen.
Well,
Can't tell you anything.
I think it was late-ish 2018 that the announcement came, and my phone blew up. And then Alan Tudyk had been announced, and so in his panel at the end, he did do you want to see some footage?
Oh yeah.
And that's when I lost my mind and Turbo nearly lost his arm because I was jumping up and down holding onto his arm and nearly wrenched it out of his socket, Chewie style.
And then he just gave you a little old troll.
Yep.
He won't get away with that next celebration if he tries to pull that nonsense again. So there was a Clone Wars panel.
Yeah,
We went to the Clone Wars panel in there as well. We went to the Rebels panel. That was cool. And then that kind of got us to the Monday. So Monday was Phantom Menace panel. And as we said, there was like Ewan McGregor's going to turn up, and Ewan McGregor did not turn up. There was a sort of, I mean, this has been spoken about at length. You know, there was a kind of a bizarre video from George Lucas, you know, that was sort of
like
filmed in his cupboard or something.
Portrait mode.
I know, like a doctor's waiting office or something, or just waiting for a
and
bus.
there's an edit in there as well too.
Point.
You couldn't even get it in one
weird.
take. Yeah.
Portrait
portrait
mode
mode as well. Like,
yeah, it was a bit of portrait mode.
What is this? A current affair?
And then I just seem to remember the rest of the day was kind of just wandering around. I don't know, looking for deals.
Because the prices were slashed.
Get some
yeah, because they had to move.
Yeah, some of the Black Series stuff, and I think I got my Snowtrooper, or my Snowtrooper or my AT-AT driver, one of the two. I got cheap on the last day. It was going, would you take $12 for it or something like that? And they did it and things, but and it would just sort of got to like, King Tom's going, got to say goodbye to King Tom, or someone else is going, got to say goodbye to these people and things. And and it was just kind of weird because it was. People, especially in America, I guess, just like, well, I'm just going to get my car and drive home now. Like, whereas it's such a mission for us to go.
Yeah.
It's like, we kind of go, well, you can't go because if it's over, it's over. Whereas you guys are just getting your car and driving home. Do you remember how you spent those last few hours at Celebration, Catherine?
Yeah, that sense of saying goodbye and it being over. I mean, you took that photo of me, at the exit, but I was. Yeah,
you're pulling kind of a I'm sad face, but you were actually, it was kind of like I'm sad, but it was actually like, well, I am sad, but I'm gonna own it.
I was very sad, and it was that because we're so far away from people. It's that uncertainty of when can we see each other again? When will the next celebration be? Type of thing. Whereas I think. People in America, they were all a little bit closer, so they had a better chance of catching up with each other again. But
well, at least we had the date by then. Like I think the thing that helped a bit was
that helped
kind of going, well, it's next year. Well, we'll see you next year. Like, of course, and by then it felt like, of course, we'll be back. Like it wasn't going like, oh well, we'll see. I guess it was all right. Like it was if like, oh no, we will do everything we can to come back. Little did we know, obviously, what was going to happen. But, if you'd been told that, oh, no, it's actually going to be 3 years' time or whatever it was, it would be a bit different. But, it certainly did make it a bit easier saying goodbye to people because you go like, oh, well, it's going to be like 12, 14 months. Like, we'll see. No worries. Do you remember what you were up to, Andy, those last couple of hours?
Yeah,
Just sort of
wandering around, looking.
We should actually sort of, we have mentioned Steph a little bit at the start here, but, she went in, as a casual Star Wars fan, my partner's a Star Wars fan, and, she absolutely got the most out of a convention. She covered some ground. She got into the things she got into, and it seemed like she had a really good time.
And like she
said
just found it so fascinating, everything, and meeting all our online friends, like putting a face to a screen name and stuff.
Yeah. And to be said that she was conscious of going like, am I just going to be the girlfriend
on the
who's just
side?
Yeah.
But no, she was really involved,
and she was involved. And credit to everybody as well that were not only welcoming of us, and we had much more contact. They're just like, no, you're with us. You're all with
family.
Us. Come on, you're all together. It's just, you're not the girlfriend. You're just part of the crew.
And it was really nice because like anytime we got like any free stuff from the panels, she would go, well, this means more to you guys than me. And she, just kept giving them to Claire, because
I've got that photo of her with the Mandalorian poster.
I think it was the beanie from episode 9 and the Mandalorian poster. Like, that's just like really awesome.
Got my beanie from episode 9. And then the evening, we kind of went back to the house, and then we went back to Echo Base one last time, didn't we? Because I think you did a podcast with Eric.
Yes.
I think I just sat on the couch. Almost everybody had left. I remember we kind of went around there, and it was like Eric and a couple of people were left, and we just sort of sat on the couch and vegged out on our phones. I think, and we had to be quiet because you guys were recording, and then I think Luke and Dallas hadn't left. Luke or Dallas hadn't left yet, so we actually got to see those guys one more time. We went and had like a hamburger with them or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it was God, I'm getting overwhelmed.
That was the last little hurrah, which was nice, wasn't it? That was a nice little sort of bow to put on it, because I kind of just assumed that they'd walk off the floor and you wouldn't see them, and that was it. But we actually sort of got to go back to the house and say goodbye to the last couple of people there, and you can have a more of a conversation rather than everybody just ducking out on the floor and things. So it was good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
There's more people that I'd like to have that opportunity to have one-on-ones or small groups with, like Hawes and Jess. I don't know if I saw enough of them last time, and I've made new friends, so
you kind of go, well, you have the time next. You know what I mean? Like it kind of, you kind of go, wow, when we get back there in a year, like even a year on, going like, oh, wow, well, there was the people that I knew kind of going in who became friends, and then there were the extra people who became friends that you could have collected along the way. And then you kind of go, oh, well, in this year there's some other people, and there's these people, and there's people who are at Celebration that I didn't even get to see.
Yeah, same here. I had that too. I'd see photos afterwards
and
go
like,
what?
Oh, you were there.
They were there.
And, you were like Rick Villanueva was there, and I didn't even get to say hi to him.
Right.
And we must have crossed paths 10 times and things. And
how did Rick and I not have a photo together?
I know.
That's insanity.
There's a cosplay chance right there
Yeah.
for the, he'll be in high demand, but he'll be in his Andor outfit. Shout out, Rick, if you're listening, mate. So it will be that sort of, like, I almost feel like when we get there next year, and I think it's a day shorter as well. I suppose it's only 3 days.
Yeah, 4 days, including the preview.
Oh,
well,
there is no preview. Was it 5
Well, I don't know. Last time was 5 days.
So maybe it's 4 then.
Is 4 days.
Yeah, so it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and I think it's 4 this time. So there is that little bit of extra. However, having said that, more people we know live in that area. So depending on when you get there, and maybe a couple of days before and after. I mean, we had the Disneyland trips planned and all sorts of things. So it does mean that it might not be exclusively just those days to see people and things as well. And it's going to be a different vibe. It's going to be out in the sunshine, and it's going to be. But I think that'll make a big difference, because it'll be more like outdoor drinking and eating and warmer nights and it'll be light longer, and it'll be a different vibe. But
we won't have to fill up our suitcase with like hoodies and puffy jackets, so we've got more room for
That's
stuff.
true.
Or is that just me
Beanies
wanting
and
to buy
merch.
stuff?
Yeah. I'll just have to start saving. Well, guys, we actually kind of covered this. We got to sort of 20 minutes ago. I'm like, well, we haven't got to the
we
panels
did it.
yet. This ought to be interesting. But we did it. I mean, we could keep talking for ages and ages and stuff. But I think it's been pretty clear how special it was for us, particularly, and especially when we missed out, we haven't quite gotten back there again. But hopefully, we'll go back and we'll get to rewrite all new memories and stuff. And it'll be different. There'll be a weight of expectation, I think, that wasn't there, or it'll be expectation in a different way. You'll be expecting different things, but at the same time, I think now you kind of know what to expect to a degree.
Oh, that's right.
I think we'll be able to take it on a lot more head on. You just be like, all right, cool. All right, let's do this thing. Like here we are. Okay. And it'll be a lot more. And also it just means he's like, well, I'm just going to go off and do this for this person because I already know this person. And this. So it'll be exciting. Before you know it, we'll have to start. I mean, I've got to start booking accommodation a year out. So you can book Airbnbs a year out from the date. So it's actually only 2 or 3 months before I've got to try and book. I'm going to try and book the place we lost last time by default. I'll start there and basically work my way backwards. But it'll all start amping up again. Hopefully we'll all get our jabs soon and we'll all be all clear and clean to go and it'll be safe and all good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we go and see Disney, get our lightsabers.
Our retractable $700 retractable lightsabers or whatever they are.
I mean, the only extra stress that I have because it's me is sort of getting flights and when they'll be available to book because obviously there's no international travel at the moment. So, will they know even like a year in advance what flights they'll have?
Yeah.
Obviously they've got to start to plan, but
they'll know. They'll know we're coming for celebration. They'll make it happen. Don't worry. We'll just have to make sure that Qantas or whoever else knows what they're dealing with.
So we'll ring up Mr. Alan Joyce and Mr. Air New Zealand and demand. So
either that, we'll have to find out some sort of diplomatic solution. We'll have to get, become diplomats or
we'll
some
send
kind
2
of
Jedi.
Some kind of thing. Yeah, I think you say we'll send 2 jets. I'm like, all right, we'll just send a jet then. We'll work that out.
So in this phase vaccine rollout, there's 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, but ahead of 1A is an A, 1A. People going to Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give us that Pfizer, please, so we can get our retractable lightsabers. Thanks, guys, for taking the time out tonight. Always a pleasure to chat to you guys. I mean, we hang out, we see each other a bit anyway, but it's always good to talk a bit of Star Wars. Catherine, that Geek Pod doing some good work there. You just popping up on other podcasts, dropping stuff. Things are churning along.
Yeah, I can be a bit sporadic with output. I've tried to make it a bit fortnightly, but not always on a day of a week. But yeah, I've been on Sith lists and guesting, looking ahead as well. And yeah, I've got a couple of good episodes up there and I'll have to get you all along. I think in our chat, people are talking me into a Mad Max marathon. So Mad Max.
Yeah, lucky you haven't seen it. I'm jealous that you haven't seen it. That's, you know what I mean? Like, that's just like, oh, cool. And there's we won't get into it now, but they're all such wildly different movies as well. Like they're sort of, they're the same, but they're completely different. So I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Cool. Andy, you guys dropped a 101 quite recently. Was it?
Yeah, we got to Rise of Skywalker a few months ago. But yeah, we're still sort of, on that episode, we did say we were back and going to be more solid, but then kind of spanner in the works. So we're kind of just, we'll get there when we can, which is life. Life does get in the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, Star Wars 101.
Plans,
check it out.
So check it out. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Thank you guys. I'm looking forward to our 2-year Anaheim celebration recap that we'll be doing in 2024 or whatever it's going to be. If you want to look that far ahead. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. And thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
And I'll see you soon.
Goodbye.
Bye.